afternoon and konbanwa, and welcome to Genshin School. Woo! Class is now in session. Oh my goodness. Welcome in, everyone. Take a seat. We're not taking attendance, so if you're tardy, that's okay. You don't need to bring in a tardy slip or anything. But welcome
No,
in.
you should apologize right now.
Wait, what did you say?
No, you should apologize right now to,
Oh,
to
no.
Miss Rita. For
Walk
disrespecting your class like this straight away.
Oh my gosh. Walk over to the principal's office, go get a tardy slip, and come back.
Hold up, don't forget the hall pass first.
But welcome in. This is our, I was going to say casual, but I think we all did quite a bit of research going into this PowerPoint night. If you don't know what a PowerPoint night is, you should definitely try it. But basically, you get your buddies, your friendos, and you can pick a topic, you can pick a theme, and you just make PowerPoints on that theme. And it can be as ridiculous as like making something about video games or your favorite, anime. But today it's all about Genshin Impact. And I have two fellow students here today. Everyone say hello. Hello. Let's go ahead and have our fellow students introduce themselves. How about Abby? Would you like to go first? Introduce yourself to the class.
Okay. Hello, I'm Evie. I'm a shrimp. That's all.
Wow.
So simple.
Oh my gosh. And do you want to give us a sneak preview of your topic, or maybe the general area that your topic covers?
I guess without getting into too much detail, it's kind of like a more biology-based topic.
Oh my gosh.
About plants. I won't spoil anything, but some good old plant research.
Oh my gosh. And Ying, would you like to introduce yourself to everyone and what your general area of expertise is?
For sure. Hello, my name's Ying, variety streamer, sometimes VTuber. You've caught me on a VTuber day today. I wouldn't call it a field of expertise per se, but we're just gonna talk about food. We're gonna talk about food because Lilia food is very near and dear to my heart in many ways. I grew up with a lot of it, and the fact that people don't necessarily realize that it's real, we're gonna touch on that a bit.
And you mentioned earlier it's perfect for this time of year.
Yeah, because it's Lunar New Year this weekend. Lunar New Year's Eve. It's like literally tomorrow, so it's time to learn about New Year's dishes.
Are you planning on making some dishes, having a little celebration yourself?
Oh, yeah. We're doing dumplings. My family's doing dumplings tomorrow.
Ooh.
It's gonna
Oh,
be
now
fun.
I'm hungry. Oh my goodness. And for those who are new to the channel, hello. My name is Rita Kamishiro of PRISM Project Generation 2. And my topic today, oh gosh, I don't know how to say like what my topic is without just revealing it. But it has to do with, is it a social science? Is that a good way to describe it? Social science. That's the area of my expertise. I also don't think I'm an expert in this. But we have three exciting big topics today. Maybe we'll spend some time at the very end, discussing things. But you're more than welcome to chime in if you have any questions as well. We're also students, not teachers. So we're not, I guess, experts.
We're all here to learn today.
You're like a monocle. Oh my gosh.
I had to do it. I saw you with your glasses on, and I was like, oh, hold on, I joined the party.
And do you have glasses?
Where are your glasses?
Do you wear corrective lenses? No corrective lenses? Are we the only ones?
Oh, me. I don't have any glasses. I can MS Paint some if you really want. Like...
Do you want to?
I'm gonna MS Paint some glasses for this occasion.
Oh, by all
I have
means.
contacts, I don't wear them. So
I had that meme in my head that was like, if a shrimp wore glasses, would they wear it like this or like this? And you know, like
what?
You know how shrimp
What are
eyes
the
are like, because shrimp eyes are like kind of like, like they jut out a little, right? Like on a shrimp, on an actual, not like not the Evie in front of us, but a literal shrimp form shrimp.
You should do a presentation on it.
Oh,
Next PowerPoint night. Oh
there
my
you
gosh.
go. We're already queued up.
Well, since Evie is working on making her glasses, Ying, would you like to go first?
Oh God, okay, sure. Let's do it.
Alrighty. Well, let me go ahead and get your presentation prepared. Okie doke. Can everyone see the presentation? make sure I'll also screen share as well for you, Ying, so you can see what slide.
Yeah.
I am the slide controller. I have the clicker. Okay.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, I love your glasses.
This is so
Oh
dumb.
my god.
Oh
This
my
is high
goodness.
quality.
It has character. It has character. It really does.
Did you draw those circles
So
with your mouse?
lopsided.
Because if so, that's like actually very impressive.
Oh, I can draw better circles with my mouse. I just kind of like gave up because I was like, okay, I keep redrawing
I like how
it.
it's like slowly rotating.
Just like real glasses.
well, our fellow students
Slowly
also
falling
really
off.
enjoy it as well. Oh my gosh. Well, without further ado, our cooking and food tutor, Ying, would you like to take it away?
Yes, for sure. Hello, hello. Welcome, students, to Liyue Dishes IRL. All right. So, as I said not so long ago, actually, a lot of the Liyue food dishes, actually, a lot of the dishes all over Genshin they're like real life dishes. They're inspired by real dishes. They've just, jazzed them up or fantasyified them a little bit. And so I wanted to, in perfect timing with Lunar New Year right around the corner, literally tomorrow. And so many of the dishes of the Liyue dishes and everyone's specialties are actually like Lunar New Year dishes. And that's why actually, I don't know if anyone remembers when Lantern Rite comes around, which again, it has started again, right? As of yesterday.
Yeah.
Whenever Lantern Rite comes around, they have like Lantern Rite specialties, right? They're like special to the season. And so Lantern Rite dishes are usually like actual literal Lunar New Year dishes because the two events are meant to be parallels of each other. So Lantern Rite is just Genshin New Year. That's all it is. And so we're going to talk a little about some of the dishes that you see in New Year cuisine. I'm actually only going to cover probably one or two of them because it's a little too much, but you'll see them. Yeah, it'll be fun. What were you about to say?
No, I was just saying I love how Hoyoverse has mirrors of real life festivals. Like they have the mirror for Lunar New Year. They also have the wine festival and all different kinds of things like that. Super.
I agree.
Let me know when to move on to the next slide.
Oh, for sure. I guess I wanted to do a really quick intro, which is that beyond the fact that like Liyue dishes are largely attached to like major festivals, there's also the fact that they have actually quite a lot of street food and like standard day-to-day like stir fry type dishes, right? So I'm gonna go with the more recognizable ones with like a little bit of history. I honestly I didn't have time to complete all of my research. Full disclosure.
That's okay.
So I only know the backstories for some of these dishes, but a lot of the dishes that I chose have like really interesting folklore behind them. And so if you're curious about them, I highly encourage looking them up and just reading up more on them. I've like read all of them. I just can't remember most of them. And or I grew up with a lot of these as well. So I'll talk a little bit maybe more about my own personal like memories and associations. But beyond that, also one final sort of pre footnote, is that a thing? I don't know. Head note is that China is like incredibly diverse. It's an ethnically diverse country, actually. I know a lot of people are like, well, China is just filled with Chinese people. Actually, there's like over 50 ethnic groups. By some counts, it's like 56, all the way up to 60 in some cases, depending on how you're counting the groups. And every single one of these ethnic groups has like their own culinary traditions, and they're based on like the regions, right? So you might have regional specialties of the same ethnic groups across different regions. And so I tried to choose like a good representation across regions and ethnic groups. But again, it's a really diverse space. So Chinese food is a big umbrella. And when you go to like your standard Chinese restaurant, it's not going to be, it's very one-dimensional, right? In comparison to the reality of food culture. And I love that like the Liyue dishes represent a really solid diversity across it all. So that and also like modern food influencer culture has resulted in a lot of like morphing and fusing and like cross-pollination, right? So a lot of the dishes that we see now are different from how they were before, and like such is the nature of tradition. It changes over time. And I actually think it's really exciting to think about how we have all these diaspora, like me, I was born in the US, I was born in California actually. So my take on Chinese cuisine is also naturally going to be different, and my friends' takes as well. And we are no less part of that evolving tradition. Like a lot of people are like, "Oh, I feel bad that I don't know, like I don't have access to these ingredients, or like I don't know exactly how my parents made it." But the reality is, like our parents also kind of made it up as they went along, and so we're all part of that journey. So I want to, when people invalidate their own takes on traditional cuisine, I'm always like, no, like your take is just as valid. You're part of that evolution. And I don't know. I just
This is so cool. I'm so excited for the personal angle to it as well. I'm so excited.
I'll try to talk a little more about that. But next slide, please,
Yes,
teacher.
Indeed.
All right. Next up, we got. Sorry, my mouse is like glitching on me. I can't pull my. One second. So first I wanted to talk about the dishes that we'll be covering today. So there's quite a solid list. Really quick, we got the Adeptus' Temptation, Tianshul meat, Mora meat, almond tofu, and universal peace. And I didn't quite go into the specialties for each of these also, but I'm sure each of y'all already have your favorite characters popping up in your heads.
Absolutely.
I can't look at Mora meat without thinking about Ningguang anymore, but just so y'all know what's on the menu.
Almond tofu.
I know.
Oh
my god, Rita, if you ever do like a cooking stream, I would love to. I know you've done a few before. I would love to watch you make almond tofu.
Almond tofu.
Yes. Yes.
That's a really fun
Oh
one.
my gosh, I was tempted to make some for the rerun banner, but I successfully was
Yes.
able to bring Xiao home again without the almond tofu.
You didn't have to bribe him home because he just came home obediently. I get it. All right, next slide, please. Let's go into the first one.
indeed. Absolutely.
Yeah. The next one is, the first one is Adeptus' Temptation. This one has a really funny Chinese name. That's why I put it up front. It's called Buddha Jumps Over the Wall. That's the literal translation. And basically the concept is that the things in this pot are so delicious and tempting that even Buddha himself would jump over a wall to get to it. And I think it's especially scandalous because there's lots of meats in here.
Mhm.
And in Buddhist tradition, they don't eat meat. They're vegetarian. And so this is like so tempting that someone who is vegetarian would jump over the wall to like eat meat. Like,
Oh my
that's the
gosh.
concept. It's supposed to be a pot full of like riches, right?
Oh.
So for anyone who's curious about what it's called in Chinese, those characters spell 佛跳墙, and it literally means Buddha jumps wall. It's so great. It's from Fujian province. It's got shark fin in it, which, is a bit exotic, I think, for a lot of people. Quail eggs, scallops, etc. Basically, it's like all about being extra. You really want to like load this dish up with whatever you think is super extra. That is the entire point of the Adeptus Temptation, because you're here to tempt Buddha himself. That's really all it is. It's a deeply indulgent dish. And it's actually also a very popular New Year's dish because it's so full of, prosperous objects. It's like a good omen for the coming new year. So this is a popular New Year's dish for sure.
I'm so hungry now.
Yeah. Viper says, I'm imagining Buddha doing parkour to get to That's exactly the image in my mind. Like
my
one
gosh.
hand on the wall leaps
Exactly.
dramatically over the the like Chinese martial arts dramas when they go like flying through the air and
Oh my gosh,
the,
yes.
like, the sleeves and the pants and they make the flop 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 sound like this. That's what's in my head.
Oh my gosh.
All right, that's the first one. Let's go to the second one.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
All right. There you go.
All right, next up
Oh my
we've
gosh.
got this is 天书肉, 天书 meat. This is actually known as 东坡肉, and this one's a little bit like not so much complicated as it's just kind of a common dish. So it's not that this iteration itself is common. This is actually a very specific version of the base of the dish, which is basically just red braised pork. Like if you've ever had like Chinese braised pork belly, like it is one of the most common Chinese dishes, particularly in certain regions. My family is Shanghainese, so we make this a lot, but we don't call it 东坡肉. We just call it 红烧肉, which is just red braised pork or red braised meat rather. The reason that this can be identifiable as specifically 东坡肉 is that it is cut in fours. So the art, like the illustration of tianshu meat is cut into quadrants, and like traditionally 东坡肉 is served cut into quadrants as well. That's the only thing that really makes it stand apart.
Is there a reason why?
Not that I'm aware of. It's just that like this dish is just traditionally served like this. That's all there is to it. Yeah. So it's beyond that. Honestly, it's virtually identical to every other iteration of red braised pork across China. This one has a fun legend to it, actually. I'm not super familiar with the person himself, but there is a really famous Chinese like ancient poet called Su Dongpo. Some call him Su Shi. And so the legend is that he was like banished and he fled to Hangzhou, and in Hangzhou, which is one of the provinces. Now I think it's more a city. He was like all about serving the local people and like being, making himself useful and community service and helping people who needed help, right? So at one point there was like a huge flood, and he apparently personally led a whole bunch of people to go and like fix the dam which had broke during the flood, and the whole process took 77 days. And so to thank him, because this was like this huge labor and they just really appreciated his work, they thanked him, the locals thanked him by giving him like just some pork and like local wine. rice wine specifically, huangjiu,
Mhm.
which is really popular in Chinese cooking. It's kind of similar to mirin. Like the flavor is quite similar. It's not quite as sweet. It's a little more savory, but it's very popular in Chinese cooking. And so he apparently like refused the gifts, but he took them and cooked them instead into stewed pork and then like gave them back to all of the families. And so that's the recipe for this. That's the origin story, one of the many origin stories for this particular recipe. And so basically all it was the addition of the wine to the braised pork. And that's what makes it what it is. But honestly, nowadays when you make red braised pork, like everyone adds some kind of wine or some kind of agent like that you don't have to add the wine, but most people do. So it's not necessary, but it's a fun part of the story. Yeah. Any questions, class?
Okay, I have one.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite of these, or has it not come up yet?
Oh, of the dishes that I have on the list?
Yes.
I have to say that it is almond tofu, not just because I'm a xiaomain, but because it's a dessert that I grew up with. So it's either almond tofu or actually not so much tianshu meat, but like our Shanghainese variation of it. Actually, that reminds me. My mom has a really funny way of cooking red braised pork. Her Shanghainese style red braised pork. It involves like a 5-spice mix. Also, this toporo actually doesn't technically require the 5 spices. You can put them in, but it's not like required in the recipe. The only thing required is the wine. But the way my mom cooks it, she doesn't use wine necessarily. She uses unexpectedly Coke, like Coca-Cola. So she has this like insane method. Sometimes she'll use red wine too, but it's like either red wine or Coke. And she'll like, if it's red wine, she'll take an entire bottle of red wine and just like, instead of adding, what you're supposed to do is like add water and the cooking wine and like all your spices and soy sauce and whatnot. She'll like do all of the spices and the soy sauce. And then instead of water and wine, cooking wine, she'll just uncork a bottle of red wine and just pour the whole dang thing into the pot. And just let that cook down. Like, who needs water or cooking wine if you can just take literal red wine and pour it in? She's also done that with Coke. I think usually it's like a can of Coke and then she'll add a little extra water so it can like take a little more time to cook down. But if she uses Coke, then she'll add less sugar. So it's like
sure.
Because you see that like glaze on it, like the shininess of the meat. That's all like glazed sugar. Like the sugar has sort of been in the sauces, and as the sauce reduces, it glazes over the meat, and that's why it looks so shiny and delicious.
We've had a couple of folks wondering if like this is a recipe that's really common to find online. How easy is it to find?
For sure.
Like, that's a recipe that's super easy for like a beginner.
It is really easy. It's a little time consuming, not in terms of prep time, but just in cook time. So my recommendation is usually if you have like a, what are they called? Like a instant pot or something like that. To use those instead. Yeah. So it'll save you a bit of time and headache. In my case, I once left it on the stove to stew because it has to reduce down. And then I got, in typical ADHD fashion, very distracted. And 3 hours later, I was like, I feel like I was in the middle of something. I was still living at home at the time, and the kitchen was down. Like my family home had 2 floors. I was in the upper floor, and I went downstairs, and it was literally there was like swirling smoke. Like I had to crawl to the stove. Yeah, that was unfortunate, but thankfully I didn't burn the house down, and that's what matters. We're alive to tell the story. It was like a lump of charcoal. It was crazy.
Oh no! How does it normally taste when it's not a lump of charcoal?
It's like, so the fats have all rendered down from the pork skin. So it's really melty, and depending on how much you've cooked it, like almost buttery a little bit, but it's like gelatinous too, right? Because it's pork fat. And the old wives, like the mothers, will always like hand you the pork fat and be like, "This is good for your skin." Like they always like take their chopsticks and put it forcefully in your bowl, and you're like, "You have to eat this." I personally don't like the pork fat bit that much because it's like I just don't like how fatty it is. But a lot of people really like that texture. And then depending on how marbled the pork belly, like lean meat portion is, it'll kind of fall apart in your mouth. And if it's less marbled, then it's like this really nice chewy kind of feeling. I really like it. I'm salivating just thinking about it. It's one of my favorite protein dishes.
Oh my gosh.
I love it a lot.
Anything else on this slide?
That's it. We can move on.
All right. Woohoo! Next one.
Next slide. We are now on mora meat, also known as 肉夹馍. This one is Miss Ningguang's specialty, of course. Her take on it is so beautifully illustrated. But this is so 肉夹馍 literally translates to like meat between buns, basically. So it's very literal.
Very literal.
It's a very popular street food, and even though it originates from Shanxi province, it's actually, you can find this all over the country. So like no matter where you are in China, you'll find this as a street food pretty much. It's just like super common. Some people have referred to this as the original hamburger because it's just like so freaking old. Like the Qin dynasty was friggin', I don't know, like it's 500 BC or something. I'm probably getting those years completely wrong, but it's like in that ballpark, you know, like old. BC old. So thousands of years old hamburger. I remember I came across like a New York Times article that was like the Chinese have the gall to claim that they invented the hamburger, and I was like, I mean, did we not though? This is for those of you who don't know, like Shanxi province is the province that includes the capital city of Xi'an, and Xi'an is where you can find the terracotta warriors. So yeah, it's the historic capital of China. That's how we usually refer to it. Yeah, it's where all of history in China starts, or modern history, I guess. The rou in this case is the meat, so that's the stuff. The filling inside is actually a very specific belly-based filling called 腊汁肉, which I think literally means like fat juices meat or something like that. But
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it's also, there's a lot of pork belly in Chinese cuisine.
I love pork
And
belly.
then, I mean, it's so versatile. You can cook it into so many different things. And then the mo is the northern way of saying what, if anyone here is familiar with Mandarin Chinese, what we call mantou, which is like bun or like a steamed bun kind of. That's how northerners call mantou. It's the mo. So 肉夹馍 is the way that name comes together. And they come from different dynasties, actually. The mo is allegedly from the Qin dynasty, and the meat is from the Zhou dynasty. So it's a cross-dynasty hamburger.
Wow. Very nice.
Nowadays, you get all kinds of meat filling, though. It might not be pork belly necessarily. So you also find like beef and lamb is really common. And I'm sure there's like vegetarian versions of this now, too. So yeah.
More of
That's,
veggies.
Yeah, right? Just a ton of veggies, maybe tofu to
my
make it
gosh.
chewier. Yeah.
My
Okay,
goodness.
that's basically it for this one. Definitely keep an eye out if you're ever in China and you want some street food. This is a really
Ooh, will
convenient,
do.
affordable, delicious snack. Yeah.
Alrighty.
All right.
Here we go. Next one.
Here we go. Fun. What we've all been waiting for. Almond tofu. Mr. Xiao's specialty. What did he say? Because it tastes like dreams?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
clouds.
Have you
Dreams.
all tried almond tofu?
I have not.
You have
No, I
not.
haven't.
Ebby, have you? No?
I really want to.
Oh my goodness. We gotta get you all to try it.
I know,
Yeah.
I want to make it. I want to make it.
It's so easy to make. Have you seen the like the powder packets that you can get that you can just
No, I
like,
haven't.
it's like super easy. It tastes very authentic. Like that's literally, it's fine. Like don't feel bad about using a powder. I use a powder too. But if you go to like any sort of Asian supermarket, most of them will carry these. It'll be next to like where you can find mango pudding and stuff like that
Okay.
too. Yeah.
Wow.
Very easy to make because it's a powder. But funnily enough, even though it's called almond tofu, it contains neither almond nor
More
tofu.
tofu.
I think it's like a common misconception. I think some people are like, oh, maybe it's made of like almond milk or something. So I've seen recipes where they use almond milk.
Oh, I see.
And certainly you can, like no one will stop you. But it doesn't officially, like the official recipe does not include almond.
Where'd the name come from
Or
then?
tofu. So tofu is simply a reference to the sort of the consistency of it. It like tastes, it like feels like tofu. Therefore, it is tofu. Like we will just name things tofu even if they aren't strictly speaking like the soy-based tofu that we are all familiar with, right? The word tofu isn't necessarily restricted to that use. And then the 杏仁 part. So 杏仁 is the almond part. It's confusing because 杏仁 both means almond. I think it also means almond. I'm not actually 100% on that, but it literally means apricot cores. So that's actually the origin of like the flavor of it is from apricot cores, not from almonds necessarily. And this one also has a variety of origin stories, often to do with like harvesting fruits to give to the poor, and then people like the poor people took the fruit and like created like they took the almond kernels because they're poor, so they have to make use of every part of the fruit, and so they made tofu out of it. There's lots of versions of this story, but I think that's the core of it for the most part. And so you kind of like
apricot core of it.
yeah.
Sorry.
Well said.
I'll see myself out.
Yeah, and then you just kind of, it's literally just milk and apricot cores and like gelatin basically, or some people use like agar agar to firm it up. And that's all it is. It's like a super simple recipe. You like kind of make it in like a big tray and then you cut it up into cubes and then you just kind of scoop it out. This one has varieties in terms of topping that I think are really interesting. So I grew up with the version, like I would go to dim sum restaurants growing up, which are very Cantonese. And so Cantonese people will eat this with like, those like canned fruit things, like a canned fruit cocktail kind of thing. And they'll just kind of open a can of it, pop it open and like dump it over the tofu. And like, that's that, like that's the tofu. That's how I grew up eating it. Delicious. But then I saw, actually, it wasn't until I played Genshin and they had almond tofu, and I was looking at this illustration of it, and I was like, what the damn hell? Like, what? That ain't fruit, you know? Like, what is that on top? So I was looking it up, and it turns out that actually the fruit version that I'm used to is not the traditional almond tofu. It's actually, like, originally supposed to be osmanthus honey syrup, which is very specific. But a lot of like older Chinese, like dishes of older Chinese origin have osmanthus in them, so I'm not that surprised. Like fermented rice wine, for example, often has osmanthus added to it as well. So I don't know. I tried to make it at home. It was interesting. The osmanthus is like, because the flowers are literally in the syrup, it's like a little gritty and like kind of unpleasant if you're not used to that sensation. But the honey's really nice. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, honestly. I think I still prefer the fruit version just because I grew up with that. But this is the traditional version that they've illustrated here. Yeah. As a Cantonese person, I feel no shame in our method, says Alex.
And you were mentioning it earlier, just everyone's, own unique ways of putting spins on things and how history changes recipes. And it's really fascinating. I like it.
They're all valid. They're all valid. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. And then finally, next up,
up,
we've got the universal piece. Universal piece. 8 treasures rice is the literal translation of the Chinese name of this dish. So I chose a really fancy version of the like the photo that I chose is really fancied up. Honestly, when I eat this dish, it's like, imagine like a frozen bowl of rice. And then you like stick it in the steamer or the microwave or whatever, and then once it's done heating up, you kind of cap it with a plate, and then you flip the whole thing over, and that's how it has that bowl shape. So if you ever look up recipes or videos of people making this, it's actually really fun because they like line the edges of the bowl with the decorations, and then they fill it with the glutinous rice and like layer in other things. And so like the way you construct this is like within a bowl that you then append, right? Which makes it kind of a fun process. But the reason it's called 8 treasures rice, aka Ba Bao Fan, is because there are 8 treasures that go into this. And so the ingredients are like, the treasures you can honestly change up. This is another instance where like tradition has evolved over time. So commonly you can see like jujubes or like lotus seeds and longyan, or longyan are very similar to lychee, if you're familiar with that. Goji berries, osmanthus syrup drizzled over the top. Like these are all elements of it, but the core, and there's like often red bean paste put in between as well in the center. I've seen all kinds of variations. I think you can tell how the nature of this dish makes it so that you can really kind of put in whatever you feel like. Like if you wanted to put gummy bears on this, you could.
Oh my gosh.
It could be extra cursed if you so wish. No one is going to stop you. Like I think it looks like the Genshin version actually put chestnuts in. I think the big yellow globs are chestnuts, which I think is delicious.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there's like a kanji ben porridge version of it as well. That's very true.
What would you put on it? Like, what are your favorite things?
I really like the traditional take. I would definitely not miss the jujube. I think that's core to the flavor, and the red bean paste also. I like it when the red bean paste is like kind of smoked. Sometimes the smoked, instead of red bean paste, it'll be the smoky flavor comes from like dates. I think it's also jujube. So like jujube paste on the inside and then like dried jujubes on the outside. I don't like lotus seeds personally, but I would put all kinds of other stuff. Dates. I probably wouldn't do nuts either. So maybe just like a bunch of dried fruits, I think would be my variation on it. Yeah. The glutinous rice of this makes it really heavy too. So it doesn't look like that big of a portion on the plate, but my whole family of 4, like my mom will steam one of these for breakfast and we'll all wake up and like all 4 of us will eat like a single portion of this. Wow. It's just so dense. Like the glutinous rice is so heavy. Oh man. But you do eat this for good luck. It's popular during Lunar New Year. So Anything that brings good luck is popular during Lunar New Year. So my mom would often steam this when I like on mornings of big exam days for me, because it was like
Oh, that's so
Aw.
sweet.
it would bring me good
luck.
luck. She would know I had like, I don't know, the SATs or something coming up. I would wake up to like a freshly steamed bowl of baba
That
fan
is
on the
so
couch. Very
sweet.
sweet. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, and this is pretty much it. Those are my main dishes I wanted to highlight. There's so many, y'all. Like you really, I think the wiki actually does a really good job of covering what all of
Wow.
these inspirations are. If you go to the next slide,
Oh,
I
yes.
give you a quick sampler platter of like all the other options.
Oh.
Yeah, there's like so many. Come and get it is like a huge. It's called puncai punchoi, I think is how the Cantonese people call it. It's a Cantonese dish. But that's a major Lunar New Year dish.
Oh, wow.
I have had it as well. My mom, she didn't make it. She like ordered it off WeChat. Someone was doing like a big group order of punchoi, and so my mom got some. That was my first time trying it, like for real, because before that I hadn't really had it. So last year was my first come and get it experience. So good.
Oh, somebody asked
Yeah.
which one's the most popular to make.
Oh, out of all these dishes, I think definitely the red braised pork again, because it's like it's central meat, right? It's like everywhere. It's just in every cuisine in some variation. It's definitely more popular in the South, but like you'll find it truly everywhere. It's I mean, you can't go wrong with like
Right.
sweet soy sauce glazed pork belly. Like that's the core concept, right? It's adaptable to everything. So
I
that's
think
probably
I
the most
know what I'm
popular.
going to be making for Lantern Right this year.
I hope you enjoy it. It's truly so delicious. And it's really hard to mess up unless you literally burn it on the stove like I did.
You have a lot of confidence in me and my cooking skills.
No, you really can't mess it up. Like it's
my
sugar,
gosh.
soy sauce, and some kind of wine or other softening agent like Coke, right? Like you can't get it wrong. It'll be delicious even if you forget half the ingredients. Like the only
Even
ones
if I
I
forget
forget is
that
soy
I'm
sauce.
cooking it and it turns into a piece of charcoal.
Okay, that's the only. If it becomes charcoal, then it's not gonna be so good.
Oh my goodness.
That's fine. That'll be it. Yeah.
That
thank
was
you all.
wonderful.
coming.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. I
Yeah.
love the little, like, personal tidbits. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, thanks for catalyzing this. I've been meaning to do this for so long, and I was like
Absolutely.
procrastinated it for ages.
I love catalyzing stuff like this.
I hope I didn't make people too hungry too. I'm hungry
late.
now.
I'm so hungry.
Now. I really need to try some of these things.
Sorry.
Oh my goodness.
We don't
Any-
eat good.
Any lingering questions? Thank you for the round of applause, everyone. That was a lovely presentation.
Clap, 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 clap.
clap, 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 clap.
Any questions? Any questions?
Oh my gosh. Is it
I
our
still
lunch
want to
break
see the
now for
Rita
Genshin
almond
School?
tofu stream.
Oh my gosh! I don't know, like when it comes to things like jello or like things that have gelatin in them,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
so
'cause
bad at like
that's
making
true.
them.
That's why you use the powder, because it's all mixed in. The portions are already calculated.
Oh.
Then I learned how to fish out.
Oh. Oh my gosh. I guess I'll make it.
I'm gonna
I'm
like make
excited.
it and do a temple, see if he comes home again.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, I will.
Like summoning ritual.
There we go. Them's the hacks.
Oh my gosh. Oh, someone asked what are good drinks to pair with the foods?
Oh, you can honestly have anything. If you're feeling adventurous, any savory Chinese dish, you can have a baijiu with it, which is you can think of it as like almost like Chinese vodka, but it's made from rice.
Oh.
It's extremely strong. It's like way stronger than vodka, actually.
wow.
It's just comparable because it's also like straight alcohol.
Oh.
But it's
You
like
don't mix
it's
it with
sort of famous for no, you just have it straight and you're not meant to knock it back. You're supposed to sip it.
Oh.
Because it's like super mega fragrant and people have strong
Oh, wow.
opinions about like the brands that you choose and there's like tiers to it, right? Like the really
Okay.
expensive ones go all the way up to like $1,000 for a bottle, multiple thousands of dollars for a bottle. Yeah, people will use them to like bribe state officials. Like that's how fancy it can get.
Oh my gosh. Oh my good. Well, there you go. Oh my
Quite
gosh.
tasty though.
Someone asked, what's the most popular spicy food?
Ooh, that's true. I didn't really cover spicy food. That's a good question. I think currently the most popular spicy food is probably some variation of dry pot. Have you heard of dry pot?
I don't think so.
Hmm.
Oh, it's some people will call it dry hot pot. It's like one way to think about it.
Oh,
But it's like
okay,
all
okay.
the normal ingredients that would go into a hot pot, a
Mm-mm.
spicy hot pot, but without the soup. So instead, it's kind of
Oh,
like a
okay.
really intense stir fry. And you have to do it
Oh.
over a wok for the wok hay. Have you heard of that?
Oh.
If anyone watches Uncle Roger, he cares a lot about the wok hay.
I haven't. No, I haven't.
It's like it's the breath of the wok. So the idea is that like
Oh.
the wok itself
Oh.
has some quality flavor breath to it, right? And it
Oh.
dissipates very quickly, so you have to eat it fresh and hot. Yeah, dry pot is all about that kind of wok experience. It's delicious. It's so spicy, but it's so good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for educating us on this, very yummy presentation.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm excited
course.
for Ebby to nerd out. I watched the
Yes.
recording of the last time, and I think I was sipping tea, and then Palace of Palace happened, and I literally like I choked on my tea.
Oh my gosh.
So good.
Well,
I'm excited.
we're gonna be saving Evie's for last because I
Oh,
think
no.
it's
Okay.
the best research in my opinion.
I see.
No.
No pressure, Ebby.
No pressure, Evie. Oh my
So
gosh.
much pressure on me.
I feel like no, because we were talking about this beforehand. I feel like yours is the most like extrapolated. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
we have a lot
mhm.
of like because I feel like mine is just very like collective, like I'm just explaining things, but yours is like I
Yeah.
took something and then I extrapolated out of it, and then I
Yeah.
took external things. So we'll save yours for last, but I'll go
Yeah.
ahead
Oh,
and do mine next. So
Like Rita and I took really good notes, and we're here to share
Yeah.
our learnings with you all. But Ebby is here to blow
No.
our minds.
you're doing
So-
research, like you're being paid to do research at Genshin
Yeah.
University. Like I'm still
This
a
is the
TA.
R&D department here.
Like- Oh my god! Yeah, we're professors, and you're like a researcher at the
Yeah,
No.
it is,
at
it
Genshin
is.
University. Oh my god!
Attention, you. Yeah.
No.
Oh my goodness. Well, let me go ahead and pull up my slideshow then. So I'll close that. So mine was about a social science, and the reason why I chose my topic, which I'll reveal in a moment, is because I feel like there's so many things in Genshin that I like never remember. Like there's so much lore about the different like cities and the kingdoms or whatever, and I never remember them. And sometimes I get really confused when I'm going through the story because I don't know how like certain organizations work or how like certain countries are set up. So I did mine on the governments of Tibet. I know. It sounds kind of boring.
I'm so ready.
Oh my gosh. If you're the kind of person who clicks away if you hear government, stick around. I promise it'll be pretty interesting because you don't realize it, but a lot of your favorites are actually government officials. So a lot of your favorites are either government officials or related to the government. So there you
my
go.
God.
So I did everything revealed so far through Sumeru, so nothing speculative for Fontaine yet. So maybe in the future I'll do a continuation of Governments of Tibet when we see Fontaine, Shniznaya, things like that. But of
Mhm.
course, we could start off with the first country where you stay. Oh my gosh, why is it out of order? Oh no! That was a spoiler for Sumeru! Oh my gosh. Let me go ahead and check why my slideshow is out of order. Or I can do this. Da-da-da-da. We're gonna go ahead and fix that slideshow. But in the meantime, is there anything about the government of the governments of Tibet that you are curious about or you've always wondered?
I only know hot nation ruler and electro girlfriend.
Well, that's all
It's a
that's all you
pattern.
need to know.
Them's the governments. That's
Oh
it.
my gosh. But yes, I went ahead and fixed it, so hopefully it's all good now. The governments of Tibet, as presented by Rita Kamishiro. Here we go. First up is Mondstadt. So this one, I didn't really know what to call it because the main part of the government is their military force, which is the Knights of Favonius. But I also feel like it's a theocracy because they conduct the will of Barbados, right?
Mm.
And the church is very closely tied to their government. Because the Knights of Favonius is the governing body, but they also manage the Church of Favonius. So, theocratic, is it stratocracy? I don't know how to say these. But that is the Knights of Favonius. That is the governing body of Mondstadt. A little bit of a history for Mondstadt so you can kind of understand how Mondstadt came to be. We first started with Old Mondstadt. They were ruled by the tyrant Archon Decarabian before Barbados. There was a war against Decarabian. Eventually, there was a revolt by the people led by Barbados. Eventually, Barbados reformed Mondstadt. There was also another revolt because after Barbados' reformation, there was an aristocracy era where a lot of the nobles became corrupt. And Barbados had left after the People's Revolt, right? Freedom, you're free to do whatever you want. But after seeing the corrupt nobles during the aristocracy era, Barbados came back and with Vanessa, established, the Knights of Favonius. So that's where we are. And with the theft of the Gnosis, is the most recent, I guess, governmental scandal. I don't know what you would call that. But that is the core of the Knights of Favonius, with Grandmaster Vanessa and Barbados being the founder of Mondstadt. So I kind of boiled down how the Knights of Favonius are structured. So you know how the government works?
Ooh.
So the very top of the Knights of Favonius is the Grandmaster, Varka, but unfortunately Varka's off on an expedition. I don't remember if they've ever talked about I think maybe I have some notes about it in the back of my head when we get to the Church of Favonius section, but he's out on an expedition, so while he's out, Jean's here to fill in the shoes and is the acting Grandmaster. And then there's 10 companies in the Knights of Favonius. 5 of which we know the leaders of. We have the Cavalry Captain Kaya, which I think is really funny because you know what I'm going to say? So he's supposed to be in charge of the cavalry, but the entire cavalry went with Varka on the expedition. So he's the captain of nobody. And I think that's so funny. So he's kind of just there. He's doing his own... What cavalry? Exactly. So he's just kind of doing his own thing. It's just a cavalry. I don't know what else to say. I guess he's like the head of the police. So poor old Kaya doesn't really have a cavalry to lead. My goodness. And then you have Albedo, who's the investigation captain. Eula's the captain of the reconnaissance. Hertha is the one who gives you, not commissions, but the weekly... How do you call those? I forgot. You know what? It's the reputation
bounties?
system. Bounties.
It's like bounties and requests. That's it. Bounties.
Bounties and requests. Yeah.
So she works on administrating resources and record keeping and missions, like bounties for the knights. And then you have Amber, who, very similarly to Kaya, is the only member of the Outriders, which is really sad. It used to be a lot of people, but I think after her grandpa left the Outriders, they just started being really undisciplined, and the Outriders just no longer became a thing. And now she's the only Outrider, unfortunately. But there's 5 of the other companies. We don't really know much about them. There is an intelligence company. There's a 5th, 7th company. There's an 8th company, which may be magic. There's one person we know of who is in the 8th company, and the reason why we think it's magic related is because apparently Lisa was a candidate to be a captain for the 8th company, but she said, no, I'll be a librarian. And then the 9th company, because I think the Outriders are the most recent company. Yeah. What company would you all want to be in if you were part of the Knights of Favonius?
Wherever Lisa is.
In the library.
I'll chill in the library with her.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I don't want to do anything. I'd probably want to be in the cavalry in some way because it's just nothing to do.
You're so real for that. Oh my gosh. But yes, the Knights of the Favonius, they're the governing body. They kind of protect Mondstadt as per the will of Barbados. So very military oriented, but also they follow Barbados, which is...
Wait, how do they know it's the will of Barbados?
That is a great question. That was actually something that I was wondering when I had come up. I'm thinking they convene with the church, and I'll talk about some of the church members' association with the Knights of Favonius, because apparently how it's related to the Knights of Favonius is the Knights of Favonius manage the Church of Favonius, which I was wondering, how does that work? But in looking at the, I guess the org chart of the Church of Favonius. Welcome, you're now being inducted into the Knights of Favonius. Here's the org chart you have to memorize in terms of your onboarding process. So the Seneschal, I think is how you say it, which is Seamus. This is, fun fact, this is actually Jean and Barbara's papa. The father of, yes, the father of Jean and Barbara, Seamus Pegg, the Seneschal. Isn't that crazy? Peepaw!
That's what he is.
Oh my gosh, so he is the Seneschal of the Church of Favonius, and so he is one of the leaders of Mondstadt. He's kind of like the right-hand man to the acting Grand Master. So they're I guess in some areas of the world where they use Seneschals, that's also known as a Grand Commander. So they're the right-hand man of the Grand Master and their advisor. So he's actually out on leave as well, similar to Varka. He's with Varka on the expedition. So Cardinal Calvin is stepping in as the de facto Seneschal at the moment. But the Seneschal is responsible for admin stuff. This is kind of just historical what a Seneschal is, not necessarily in Genshin. But admin stuff, managing the land, in day-to-day, but in war, they would organize the movement of men and supplies. Kind of like the VP of Mondstadt. If the Grand Master was the president, the Seneschal would be the vice president. Does that make sense?
Can I ask a question?
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can answer it. Go ahead.
What's the like real world equivalent of like the Seneschal is from like what church, I guess? Like what does that term come from? Is it like a Catholic thing?
I think it's a Catholic thing from what I've researched. I think it's prevalent in France. Yeah, and older religious orders as well. So like the Knights Templar, I think I saw they had Seneschal. But I think also Seneschal is like an estate position as well. So like within a house, there would be a Seneschal, like a big estate. And this is all just research I did today. So if I'm wrong, I apologize. I have to speed, research everything. Very fascinating. Let's see. What else? The expedition that Seneschal and the Seneschal, Seamus and Varka are on, we don't know, but it's something that has to do with a dangerous secret from a long time ago. That's it. That's all we get. So do with that what you will.
Very interesting.
Very interesting indeed. But while Seamus is out, Cardinal Calvin is swamped with work, unfortunately. And then you have the deacon and the deaconess. We have Dahlia and Barbara. So she safeguards religious artifacts, which like the harp, the holy lyre. And she worships Barbados as well. But generally, like a deacon, normally, like in real life, they assist like the liturgy, they do baptisms, they witness marriages, things like that. And then underneath the deacon and deaconess, you have, all the other church members. You have like the mother and the sisters, and then you have Rosaria as a nun as well. So I guess in the hierarchy, she works under Barbara, perhaps? But yes, that is the government of Mondstadt, the Knights and Church of Favonius. Isn't that fascinating?
Oh, that means Rosaria reports to Barbara?
I would assume so, because there's like a hierarchy, and deaconess is definitely higher up the hierarchy than like mother or sister or nuns. Isn't that so interesting?
Is a deaconess usually referred to as like sister, whatever? Is that a thing?
I'm not sure. I think deaconess is the title. Deacon Blake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So then the sister so and so title might be uncorrelated with their other church title. I don't know any of these words.
I'm not sure either, because I think sister is what you would call like a nun, maybe, and then a mother is like someone who is, I guess, more experienced in terms of being a nun. Is my understanding of it.
Okay, because my main question is, should we be calling Barbara Mother Barbara?
Mother Barbara? Mother Barbara? No, I think she is her title is deaconess.
Oh.
I want to call her Mother Barbara now.
She's an aspiring idol, though, so
Yeah.
we'll see. Oh my goodness. But yes, a lot of our favorites are in the Mondstadt government. How fun is that? But that's just one country. Any other questions about Mondstadt? I don't know if I could answer
Yes.
anything else.
Is it your opinion then that Mondstadt does not do separation of church and state?
Ooh.
So that's a great question. Actually, a lot of people don't worship Barbados, including some of the members of the Church of Favonius, Rosaria. There's actually like a guidebook, the handbook of the Knights of Favonius, and there was something in there about how like, you know, we worship Barbados, we follow Barbados, and there was like a note made in the handbook where it's like, some members don't actually believe in Barbados, so we might actually have to make amendments to this, which I thought was pretty funny. But they follow the will of Barbados. But so yeah, that's what I thought, because I was like, is there like a checks and balances sort of thing? Like how, like who is like the supreme like decider of everything? And between the Seneschal and the Grand Master, I feel like the Grand Master, like as the president, has a duty to the Mondstadt, a duty to the people, because Barbados' will is for people to have freedom. So I think as the Knights of Favonius, they want to uphold that, and they kind of like serve the people in that way. But it's kind of iffy. There's no voting. It's really just an honor system, from what I know at this point. So,
as expected of the land of the free. Oh man, because my next question is like, do they have like a pope equivalent?
That's
like
what
a
I'm
person
wondering.
whose
Like, do
job?
they have a bishop or?
Yeah, like because the pope's job is to talk to God, right? So then would they have a similar person who talks to Barbados?
Everyone talks to Barbados.
Well, that's true.
Oh my gosh, Barbados doesn't want to talk to you. He's off doing his own thing.
He's not getting drunk.
It really is.
That's what he's up to. Very accurate.
Because I think they have this general idea that Barbados is like a person who likes freedom, and they kind of just go off of that. But I'm wondering if are there holy texts? Like, you know what I mean? Like, does Barbados have like a book that he wrote? Like, here's the holy texts. Follow that. Like, is there a Mondstadt Bible? Who knows?
I don't think Barbados would like be that bothered to do it, honestly.
No, Barbados
Also,
could not be
things like
bothered.
freedom as well.
Right,
It's like,
exactly.
yeah, exactly. If the thing is freedom, like having text would kind of go against that, because it's still telling people what to do. Which I guess is the whole like, you're really free if the God commands you to be free.
Right. So I think they just go off of that freedom idea, and then they try to enforce that. They do have a Knights of Favonius handbook, and you've probably seen that, like how to like proper speech when like greeting people, but you know, it's not like a strict thing. Like you won't get arrested.
Respectable traveler.
Right, like you won't exactly. You won't get arrested if you say "Hey, you" instead of "strange and respectful traveler." So very fascinating information. And any other questions? These are great questions. I don't know if I can answer them, but we can start a conversation. If not, then we'll go ahead and move on. Why did we turn into Minecraft villagers just now? Oh my gosh. Well, let's go ahead and move on to Liyue then. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce this word. Oligarchy, is that how you say it? Which is the Liyue Qixing, is that how you would say it? An oligarchy is a power ruled by a small group of people. In this case, it is the Liyue Qixing. And I'll talk a little bit more about them. Founder, I put Ganyu and Morax. And I'll talk a little bit about it as I go into history. So the Liyue Qixing was formed about, I think they said like 2,000 years ago after the Archon War. And after all the fighting concluded, commerce and like art really flourished in Liyue. So I guess almost like a renaissance. And there was a group of people who prospered above all other people. And they formed the Qixing. And along with Ganyu, they created a new government. Ganyu helped help the humans create the government of Liyue. And she took the post of secretary, and she's just been secretary her entire life. So she stays as the secretary, and she works alongside the people as they change throughout the years. Obviously, a little bit of a spoiler for the Archon quest. After Rex Lapis's death, the Liyue Qixing decided
Don't
to.
spoil it for me.
Oh no! Oh my god!
Rex Lapis dies!
No!
How could you tell us this?
Oh my gosh! So they kind of took it upon themselves to be in charge of governance of the area without divine guidance. So before they had divine guidance from Rex Lapis, and they would enforce those rules. But after the death of Rex Lapis, I think it was mainly Ningguang who took a look at all those laws, revised them, amended them, and also created any new laws. So now they rule without divine intervention, divine guidance. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about their commerce, because they're guided by the Liyue Qixing, who are very important people in commerce. So they're very involved in mining, ceramics, salt, and they also have a lot of like legal services as well. That's one of the big buildings that they have. The 8 trades, there we go. They're the 8 trades of Liyue, and those are 4 of them. And apparently each of them have their own big building. So if you go in, you'll find the mining building and the ceramics building. But, oh my gosh, yeah, I know Ganyu's been an admin for 2,000 years. Do you want a job change? Like, my goodness.
No wonder she's so burned out all the time.
She needs to take like a sabbatical and then come back.
Yeah, like a 200-year sabbatical.
Exactly. For the 2,000 years that she's been working.
Exactly.
At least 2,000 years.
Deserves, honestly.
But yes, the Liyue Qixing is the governing body. There are 7 of them. The 7 stars, I believe. I think all of their titles are stars from a constellation. I forgot which constellation. Is it the Big Dipper?
It's the Qixing constellation.
Oh, well, there you go!
Literally the 7 sisters, yeah.
Oh my gosh. So they're a combination of business leaders, heads of state, and they look over the 8 trades that I mentioned. And there are also industries that shape the structure of Liyue. So we have 3 that we know of. 2 of them playable characters. See, so many playable characters are government officials, and there's more too. This is only 2 of the countries. But you've seen Uncle Tian. He oversees intelligence and security. Ningguang oversees lawmaking, and Kaching oversees land, livelihood management, construction, and real estate. I don't know what the other 4 are, so you can make them up. Oh my goodness! So an oligarchy, rule by a small group of people. Any questions about Liyue? I think this is the only
Why is
slide.
Ningguang so cool?
Right? Oh my gosh. So you mentioned Beidou. Somebody mentioned Beidou earlier. So while Beidou's not actually an official part of the Liyue Qixing, that's a body that they work with a lot to get stuff done. Oh my goodness. Same.
Oh my god.
Go
They're like the mafia.
I guess so. Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah, like the mafia, sure. Oh my goodness. Any questions about, or maybe any additions about Liyue?
I'm like thinking really hard. I actually didn't know about Uncle Tian.
I don't
either.
know.
I don't remember
that.
Have you done? It's one of the post-chasm quests where he was trying to find a successor for him. Obviously, as you can see, he's getting on in age. But like there was a whole
Lived next to
thing
2,000 years.
where like none of the candidates were like trustworthy. Like he got poisoned at some point. It was crazy. So he's still looking for a candidate. So anyone out there, if you're looking for a job in the Liyue Qixing, you should apply.
Don't poison him, of course.
Yeah, don't do that. Oh my god. Oh yeah, the Yelan story quest. I did it after the
quest.
Oh. I
But
haven't done that yet.
I haven't done it yet either.
there's so many story quests I haven't done.
I know, I'm so behind.
You're so valid. Oh my gosh.
I need to actually get it done because I think it's a requirement for Lantern, right?
Yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I'm so worried about there being like an NPC conflict in the Lantern quest.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'll go ahead and move on to Inazuma then. Here we go. Inazuma's probably like the most difficult for me, and I think Inazuma has the most extensive history. I think maybe they're the oldest, like civilization that is still standing to this day, which I might talk about a little bit later. So Inazuma is a shogunate, the Inazuma shogunate, so a hereditary military dictatorship. Founded by Raiden Makoto. So, history of Inazuma. In the Archon War, you had the twin gods, the Raiden twins, and they basically killed all the other gods in the Inazuma region. Yeah, A felt that her twin sister was better suited to be the role of Archon. And this is a huge spoiler, but cover your ears if you haven't heard this yet. But she basically sacrifices her body so Makoto can ascend to Celestia. As part of the Archon War, the reason why there was a war is because 7 seats opened up in Celestia, and people were like, wait, who's gonna get those 7 seats? So a bunch of gods started duking it out to get a spot in Celestia. And that's essentially just the Archon War. So yeah, the Raiden twins were winning. Oh my gosh. There was a lot of wars. There was a war between Watatsumi and Narukumi Shogunate. I think I forgot to take out the Rex Lapis thing from the Liyue slide.
My favorite Inazuma character.
There was the creation of the puppet shogun after the cataclysm, and most recently you've probably heard of the Sakoku decree when it comes to the shogunate. What I find really interesting about the shogunate, and I think is the key part of their government, is the Tri-Commission. So obviously, Raiden A is the shogun, is the head honcho, so the big decision maker. And there's 3 commissions, and they're called the Tri-Commissions, and they serve under shogun. And the shogun also has an army, and all of the members of the army either are split up to serve under the Tri-Commission or directly serve the shogun herself. So the 3 commissions, here's another fave, are the Tenryou Commission, the Kanjo Commission, and the Yashiro Commission. Each commission is headed by a clan. And I don't remember which story quest this was part of, but there was a huge fiasco with the leaders of the Kujo clan and the Hiragi clan. And so now currently the acting commissioners for those clans are Kujo Kamaji and Hiragi Chisato. So Tenryou Commission is public security, so they're like the police and the military, and they're the main enforcers behind the Vision Hunt Decree and the Sakoku Decree. The Kanjo Commission is finance, so national finance, border control, mercantile, and bureaucratic affairs. And then I love this last commission, it's my favorite. It's the culture. It's the culture, police, finance, and culture. So ceremonies, celebratory events, festivals. And like I said, the shogun's armies are all split up underneath the 3 commissions. So for example, in the Yashiro Commission, the members of the army that are under there would provide protection for events, ceremonies, and festivals. Yeah. Any questions about the Inazuma Shogunate?
One of the most confusing things about it to me was always that like the clan that leads the shogunate is like a different name from the not the shogunate that leads each of the commissions is different from the name of the commission.
That's
so for each commission you have to remember 2 names.
Yes, that's right. Oh my gosh.
So
I know, because I was like, who's Mr. Tenryou? But it's the Tenryou Commission led by that clan. Not the Tenryou clan, it's the Kujo clan?
Right. Kujo clan of the Tenryou Commission. Yeah.
Yes.
Did your research expose like why?
I know. I haven't gotten to see that, so we'll have to put a bookmark on that. Maybe it was like a previous clan, and maybe because it said lead clan, so I'm assuming that there's multiple clans that kind of are part of that commission or feed into that. So maybe it's just the presiding one, the main one. I don't know. So maybe in the past there was a Kanjo clan or a Tenryou clan.
Maybe.
Maybe. Any questions about the Inazuma Shogunate? We're good. Okay. Last but not least, well, it's the last, country whose government that we're going to talk about before I have a little tidbit. But the authoritarian technocracy, I have no idea how to say that word. But the governing body of Sumeru is the academy, the academia. And the founder was Greater Lord Rukkhadevata and followers. So a brief history of Sumeru. Greater Lord Rukkhadevata separated from King Deshret and created the Dharma Forest, which is the forest area of Sumeru, and the academia as well. Greater Lord Rukkhadevata actually formed Amurta, which is the first and the biggest darshan. Eventually, there was the fall of King Deshret, the extermination of forbidden knowledge, and then Greater Lord Rukkhadevata goes bye-bye, and then Lesser Lord Kusanali is born. There you go. And it's the reason why it's an authoritarian technocracy is because it is, again, ruled by the academia. A little bit of a spoiler again for Sumeru, but the Grand Sage, who was actually the sage of Haravatar, of Rotwahis, I believe, which was a czar, is a no good individual, and so is no longer the sage for Rotwahis. And he also used to be the Grand Sage, but in the absence of Azar, Alhaitham was so kind as to step up to be acting Grand Sage. And so you have the 6 Darshan. Oh, I think only one we've seen before, the Haravatat Sage. There is another named Sage as well, but they're, I guess, also in charge. They're kind of like a council. They form a council, almost. And there's different bodies as well. There's the Mahatma, which you probably know Alhaitham was a part of. These are alumni who are kind of dispatched to enforce I guess, the transmission of information and the integrity of information. They relay any sort of laws or decrees that were implemented by the academia. So Alhaitham was the scribe. I think there was another named title within the Mahatma, but I can't remember what it was. But those are alumni, and they kind of just go off and enforce the rules and teachings of the academia. And then there's 3 administrative groups. The Matra, which I think Sino is a part of, and they are the disciplinary ones. You know, I don't know what academic offenses would be, like plagiarism. I don't know. Oh my gosh! Imagine you turn in your essay on turnitin.com, and then Sino shows up your door because you have like 90% matching somewhere. So. Oh, I shouldn't have said that because I was going to say don't plagiarize or else Sino's going to come to your door. But now a bunch of people are probably going to want to plagiarize. Don't do that.
Don't give me reasons to copy someone else's work.
Oh my gosh. And then there's 2 other administrative branches. There's Navbed. They do trade affairs and taxes. And then there's Vizier. So they oversee administrative matters in the Grand Bazaar and Treasure Street. Any questions about the Sumeru Academia? I know, it's crazy. I've never heard of
It's a lot, yeah.
I've never heard of technocracy before. Like it's just ruled by academics. By
are there technocracies in the world right now?
That's a great question. I think I searched that up at some point, but I can't remember. Technocracy examples. It says the government or control of society or industry by an elite of technical experts. Example. Here we go.
Ooh.
Do you know which field the 6 Darshans represent? Oh my gosh, let me see if I can do this from memory. So I know Amorta for sure is biology, because that's the one that Tainari is a part of. Nafis is actually his teacher or master. I can't remember. So he used to be a part of that. Spontamod is the elementalism one because I think it's generally agreed upon that Lisa was a graduate of Spontamod. Let's see. Haravatat is the linguistics one, I believe, because that's where Alhaitham studied. Again, he's a graduate, so he doesn't study there anymore. Radwahis is illuminationism. Vahumana is etiology. Don't ask me what that is. I don't remember. And then Kashara War is technology and architecture, and that's where Kave is from.
Oh, I still think it's hilarious that like Kave is the STEM major and Alhaitham is the liberal arts one. Like it's just so
it doesn't make sense.
That'll teach you to judge a book by its cover, truly.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. But yes, those are the different fields that the 6 Darshan represent. I think etiology in Vahumana, it's like social studies. I think like history. Yeah, not sure. But yeah,
I was searching up technocracy on the side also, and it looks like it's purely sort of like a philosophical kind of thought experiment type thing.
Oh. Yeah. Would it be like Plato and Socrates and things like that?
I think because that was still. But they were still in a representative democracy.
Oh, true. Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like it was a concept. Someone like invented the word.
Oh.
And then there was like a movement. But there was never like an actual functioning nation state with that government.
Because I'm assuming that they make, I think like the Council of Sages makes laws. And then I guess the Grand Sage is kind of the final decider. And then you have the Mahatma that kind of, I guess, deal out the disciplinary actions if you don't follow the rules or you plagiarize or something.
You know, I guess there's like elements of technocracies in other governments. Like, for example, like ancient China had that whole thing where you could test into the government. Like if you were the number one grade getter, you were called the zhuangyuan, and the zhuangyuan was like you would put into the government system. You like became a government official purely by your test scores. So they would like induct one of these every once in a while, right? And I think I'm like reading now, it looks like maybe you get similar. There's like other governments nowadays that also do something kind of similar, where you have like you'll nominate people who are non-political out of like a technical elite.
Yeah. So fascinating. What darshans would you be in? Or would you want to be in?
Wherever Lisa is.
She graduated. She left. She didn't like what they were doing at the academia.
It doesn't matter. There will be photos of her on the wall. I'll take it.
I think it's so fascinating that like Lisa kind of recognized really early on that something was not right in what they were, because she was afraid of like what knowledge would do to her, because she was a really talented student, and you know, I think she even got her vision because she was really talented at like her studies and was like, you know what would make my studies even better if I had a vision. Poof, then she had it. So I thought that was so funny. But she left because she saw the people going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And then, you know, she also saw the sages being like underutilized and things like that. And she just left. She was like, I'm not going to put any more effort into anything, which I appreciate.
She's a smart cookie.
Yeah, yes. Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, exactly.
But that is the last government. I did want to talk about one thing real quickly, though, so I'll go ahead and go to that slide, which is is the Adventurers Guild. So they don't have any allegiance to any one country.
Wait, I thought...
Well, they're headquartered in Shiznaya.
Yeah.
So Shiznaya connections as well.
Yeah, they're headquartered in Shiznaya, which I like forgot. But I was like, oh wait, that's right. Interestingly enough, there's not an Inazuma branch manager. You would think that they would introduce one when we went to Inazuma, but there's not. And I was wondering if that has to do with the Sakoku decree, but I'm assuming that the Adventurers Guild was established in Inazuma before the Sakoku decree. But
they're isolated inside it, but why would they not have? Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't know. Very odd. But yeah, they're an adventurer for hire service, and they have a branch in each country with a branch manager, and they have one loyal secretary that teleports between all three of them. And they also have departments. So obviously the recruitment department, they recruit and train new adventurers, but then they also have the intelligence department, which is divided into two sub-departments, the investigators and the organizers. So the investigators go out into the field, they gather the information, and the organizers organize, and then they give that information to adventurers so they can take that information and do with it what they will. And that's it. That is the governmental bodies of Tibet.
Woo!
Yeah! Yay! And now, well, any last questions before I get Ebby's slide ready?
I can't think of any.
All right.
Which government would you choose, either of you choose to live under?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I don't know. Abby and I kind of have this thing going where we were going to live in Springvale together. Yeah, we were going to live in Springvale together and get jobs at Dawn Winery, so probably Mondstadt.
Yeah. Mondstadt seems like the least, how do I say this? Like, nothing bad can really go wrong in Mondstadt. As far as the government's concerned at the moment, it's pretty stable, whereas like everything else seems to be kind of falling apart.
Yeah.
You're like away from that all. Just in Mondstadt, nice and safe and cozy without any responsibilities.
Yeah. Because like Liyue, they are currently restructuring. Inazuma just left the Sakoku decree, and then you have Sumeru with the Akasha and everything.
Yeah.
So
seems like
aside from Storm Terror, Mondstadt looks pretty good.
nice
my
little
gosh.
simple life, just like drinking some wine or some apple juice and not really worrying about anything else.
What about you,
Mm.
Lee?
Sounds good to me.
You can live with us in
Mm.
Springvale if you want.
Yeah, I think Moshad is the obvious one for me just because this where Barbados rules. And Barbados rules! So
We'll have to add an extra room then in our little house. You can work with
this
us
is
at
our
Down
our
Winery.
cottage retirement fantasy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I think last but not least, Abby, are you ready to present your slide?
I guess. Very nervous though.
No, you got it! Oh my gosh, this is gonna be great.
Oh no.
Can I just say I've been really enjoying watching Ebby's glasses wiggle every time.
I know!
I guess my guys have more physics than I do, and I feel kind of bad about that.
Oh my
There's
goodness.
not much going on down there.
Oh my god, I'm so hyped for this.
But it's third period
Yo.
and we're in biology class now. So
Yeah,
take it away.
I've gone from Harabitat to Amrita today. Right. I want to say I am sorry in advance because this does get pretty technical. I made this last night after doing a lot of research.
No.
If at any point anyone has any corrections in chat because they know better than I do, please step in. There's a lot of stuff that I had to like try and break down. Academic texts aren't very accessible to people like me because they are just so full of like not even technical jargon, but like just long words, and my brain just I'm too tired for that. So I'm gonna try and explain some very scientific concepts. I hope you guys are ready to learn about
I'm ready.
tropic and nastic movements in plants.
boy.
Let's go.
I know a Krebs cycle.
I'm kind of nervous.
Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
that's the thing you need to know going to. Yeah.
Okay.
Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Right.
perfect.
Next slide, Miss Rita.
Thanks for watching. Hold on. I think this one's messed up too. 1 second.
Oh wait, it was a mess up. Okay.
It
PowerPoint.
said
It's one of-
why do Neil pollen lotuses bloom at night? Thanks
Yep,
for watching.
Thanks for watching. Wait, should I send you the order if you need it?
No, it's okay. I think I got it. I just gotta adjust it real quickly. But I am ready. Biology, Krebs cycle, powerhouse. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. I got it. Okay, here we go. And dun 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 dun. Ta. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
There we go.
There we go. Right.
Next slide.
Yes.
Woohoo!
Here we go. Right. A little bit of context for anyone who doesn't already
Okay.
know. Neopal lotuses are a type of Sumeru like local specialty. They are used currently not for many things. They're going to be used for Tainari and Layla ascensions. But they're found in lakes and riverbanks in Sumeru. And more importantly, they change appearance depending on the time of day. During the day, the petals are closed up, and at night they bloom. I think they're the only plant in the entirety of Genshin that has this kind of like
Glazed
Yes?
lilies.
Does Gullies do that as well?
Oh.
They have specific blooming patterns, yeah.
I didn't even know that. There you go. I didn't even know that because I spend more time in Sumeru now than I do in Liyue.
How did you find this out?
Yeah.
I just like stood there.
I
There's
looked
not like
with
a
my
flavor
special
text or
eyes.
anything? Oh my gosh.
No, I didn't realize this at first, but during the first like introductory quest of Sumeru, Tainari asks you to go get some Neopal lotuses for Kale. And when I did that, like they'd already bloomed, and I felt that's how they looked. And then when I came back later on, like I was trying to find Neopal lotuses for Tainari, and I couldn't like. I was like, wait, these are pretty different. What happened to them?
Oh.
And then I realized they actually change state depending on what time of day it is. So at night they'll bloom, and like, the petals open, you can see the insides, and then during the day they're all closed up and stuff. But that's kind of like a bit of context to what they are, just you know,
Okay.
going into this.
Oh
Now
my
it's time for some
gosh.
funky science definitions. Let's go.
Nasty movements. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay. Let's move down a little bit so you guys can read it better.
Okay. Here, I got you. I can move
I'm
your
gonna go
seat for you.
really tiny. There we go, small Epi. So I'm gonna try and explain this as best I can, but it is kind of complicated.
Okay.
A nastic movement is a non-directional response to stimuli in a plant. Which is to say
Okay.
that the direction you apply the stimulus has no impact on the direction of the response.
Okay.
It's like sticking your finger in a Venus flytrap. It's gonna close on your finger regardless of like which direction you poke it.
Nasty movement.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I hope I'm doing a good job explaining this. Plants are basically they can sense so many different things, like humidity, light, temperature, touch. Like they have so many ways of like detecting changes in the environments. So they're basically they're a lot more advanced than I actually thought. I was like, oh, plants are just funny little green things, but they can actually like detect like Z touch in some cases. And so yeah, the Venus flytrap is an example of a nastic movement. The opposite of a nastic movement, if you're interested, is called a tropic movement. This is the best way to describe this is imagine like a plant growing towards the light. That'd be a tropic movement because if the light changes, the direction of light changes, the plant will grow to change and grow in that direction. If that makes sense.
Whoa. Yeah.
That has a direction. I hope that kind of like clears things up.
Yeah.
But yes, that is the first terminology, I guess.
Okay,
Right.
nasty
Next slide,
movement.
please, Miss Rita.
Yes.
Nasty
ma'am.
and tropey. Got it.
Nasty trophy. Okay.
Yes, nasty trophy. Knit to nasty
Okay.
is a very specific type of nastic movement. If you kind of like break it down, nict is like a prefix used in scientific terms for like night. So in this case,
Mhm.
it is a type of nastic movement that happens in response to a plant's circadian rhythm,
Mm.
because plants apparently have one of those. I was really
Oh.
surprised when I found it out.
Mm.
Basically, plants can sense what time of day it is, and some plants, not all, in fact, most plants actually don't need to do this at all.
Okay.
Will change to prepare for the night, or basically sleep, I guess. And they're
Aw,
just
they
sleeping.
sleepy.
No, Mimir.
Yeah, Vladimir. But the interesting thing is, it's usually like an evolutionary trait that plants have.
Oh.
They can be found in like deserts, humid, or aquatic locations. But basically, most plants don't need this because they can just kind of survive doing whatever. But the plants that have these adaptations are kind of needed for, evolutionary reasons. So it's like an evolved trait that plants have to help them survive in certain locations.
Wow.
But yes, that's a little introduction to Nick the Nasty.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Next slide. Absolutely.
Right. This is where I get a bit more technical.
Okay.
So, how do plants tell what time of day it is? Well, plants have these little photoreceptors in them, which is basically
Okay.
like a way of detecting light called a photochrome.
Mm.
And these are sensitive to light in the red and far red regions of the visible light spectrum. They actually do a lot more than just sensing the time of day. Because they can detect light, it helps plants grow towards the light, which is phototropism, which is what I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It helps plants like germinate, helps leaves like move towards light and stuff, and also helps in chlorophyll synthesis. They are like super useful. But because they can detect different types of like red light, they can help tell the plant what time of day it is. So regular red light is more abundant during the day,
Okay.
and then the far red light is at the end of the day.
Oh.
So depending on what the amounts of red light plant can sense, it can tell whether it's day or night, and that's how it tells whether to open or close or make any sort of adjustment to the plant to
Wow.
keep it safe.
Oh my gosh. Smart plants.
They're really
okay.
cool. Next slide, please.
Next slide. Yes,
If I'm
ma'am.
rushing through this, please.
No,
please,
I mean, oh my gosh, I'm absorbing as much
My
as I
brain is expanding.
can. My brain is absolutely expanding.
Yes.
Mhm.
Right. This is the part where it gets a little bit
Uh-oh.
it gets a little bit weird.
Okay.
I try my best to research this, and a lot of sites give a lot of different explanations to it. There's not kind of like one way that plants do this. I think I might have accidentally combined a couple things here. If anyone knows more than me somehow, or like is like what is it? If anyone for some reason is actually knowledgeable in this, please let me know if I got this wrong. But some plants have this adaptation called the pulvinus. I think I'm pronouncing that right.
Okay.
Which is a little sort of thick section at the base of their leaves,
okay.
which is kind of independent of the plant's growth, but basically
Huh.
pressure changes within that, like within the cells, cause the tissue to expand or contract, which pumps water at the base of petals and like causes them to sort of it causes movements with the petals themselves.
Okay.
I'm doing like motions with my hand that mean nothing to you because you can't see them. What is it? Like a crocodile motion with my hands?
Okay. A crocodile
Like-
motion. Okay.
Baby shark?
Baby shark.
Yeah,
okay.
like baby shark.
I think it's
And
more
then
like
it's how it
daddy
works.
shark.
Daddy
Or mommy
shark.
shark.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay, mommy shark.
But like it's kind of hard because a lot of the texts that I tried to read were very, very technical and use like a lot of terms that I was like I looked at them, I was like, I'm not gonna read what this is. I don't know what this is. So I tried to dumb it down for myself more than anything else. Another way I saw it happen is that some
Okay.
plants will just like grow new cells on the outside of the petals whenever they want to open or close,
Oh wow.
and they'll just like extend the petals in certain directions themselves, and that's just another way to do it. So you can
Wow.
either use plant growth or not use plant growth. Plants are kind of weird; they can do either.
Wow.
Oh my
But yeah, they'll
gosh.
help
Okay.
things open and close.
Wow.
Next slide, please,
Next
Miss Rita.
slide. Yes. Yes, indeed. Why?
Yeah, scientists don't know.
Well, there you go.
It's kind of hard to say.
Mm.
There've been lots of experiments into like trying to like chemically restrict these kind of like responses in plants. Some of them have like
Huh.
died or something. I can't remember the exact stuff because it was like last night when I made this.
Mhm.
Charles Darwin himself proposed that plants close their leaves at night or to keep them like warm.
Oh.
Help like temperature regulation. I think in his case he mentioned that it stopped plants from freezing overnight, which I thought was really
Oh.
cool. I don't know exactly how that happens, but cool little fact. But there are lots of sort of reasons that could be the case. One of them that I saw was like to keep pollen like dry. If pollen becomes wet, especially like if we're
Oh.
thinking about Sumeru where it's like really wet, especially
Right,
for
right,
like
right.
lilies and stuff, the pollen becomes kind of too heavy for insects to catch it and pollinate other plants. So it kind of helps protect it.
Oh.
It can also keep out unwanted species. So say if like you only want a certain type of if you're a plant and you only want
Okay, I'm a plant.
some funny bats to pollinate you or something.
Okay. Oh. Okay.
You only want some bats to pollinate you.
Uh-huh.
You close up during the day and then you open so the bats can come and pollinate. And that way things that go around in the day like bees and stuff won't
Right.
steal any of the pollen.
Oh,
If that's like helpful.
Wow, wow, wow.
Oh.
And in some places, like I think in more dry environments, they can help with like water regulation or conservation. I think like
Okay.
if you close up the leaves or something, it can help keep the water inside the plant. I don't really know the full extent of that, but it's super useful in like certain environments. I guess you can kind of see how it's kind of like speculated that these are like evolutionary stuff because like I said, most plants don't need to do any of this, but in the cases where plants do have these responses, it's super useful. But yes.
Wow.
Next slide, please, Miss
Yes,
Rita.
indeed. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Great. This is where we try and apply it. As you can see, I enlisted the help of Tainari and Kale. I took 20 photos of them there. I had them stand in the same place and took 2 different photos. So in this case, a Neopala lotus would be considered a night bloomer plant.
Okay.
I think the name is kind of self-explanatory, but like it only blooms at night. The reasons as to why this is, I tried to sort of speculate. It might be really interesting to know, but the plant could have evolved to, again, this is like...
Sure, speculation.
Not that
sure.
deep. This is a fictional plant in a fictional game. I'm not gonna get too much fun with it. But the plant could have evolved to open at night to attract certain species of moths or bats.
Okay.
I mean, it's all fictional. Like, maybe some fictional pollinators in the Genshin universe, like the color yellow, and they open up at night. They only fly around at night, so the plants open up at night to get the pollen spread around.
Okay.
Which could explain the inner yellow parts of the plant to try and attract nocturnal pollinators. It's all fictional. This means nothing.
Oh my gosh.
It could have said any reason in the game. It could just be because it looks cool. The developers thought it looked really cool. That's probably the reason. But I read way too much into this and now my head hurts. And academic language is so pretentious. I have had enough of it.
I know, like why do they have to write it like that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I'm a bit of a nerd, right? And I really want to read up on this stuff.
Yeah.
And I found one paper, like an actual published paper, where like the actual scientific terms like weren't that frequent. It was very much like explanations, but the words were so long just for the sake of like trying to seem fancy. And I hate when writers do that because it just makes things like the more difficult to read.
It's just inaccessible for no reason. Yeah.
I think academic stuff. Maybe I'm just like some sort of uneducated little shrimp here. But I wish that academic stuff was more easily accessible.
Yeah.
And more digestible, because I enjoy this kind of stuff so much. I wish it was like
Right.
easier to actually read and understand.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting way too into this, but like if you're gonna use like super long thesaurus words, I don't have the attention span for that. I lose track after 3 syllables.
Yeah.
There's
Academia has a
actually-
major accessibility problem for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I was about to mention there's a movement almost like on TikTok where they're talking about how a lot of like academics and like knowledge is like I guess kept behind the barrier of like language. So a lot of people will say, oh, if you don't know the very specific words, like you aren't knowledgeable. Whereas like because people will assume if you use like vernacular or slang to explain something that you're not as educated or is not as like academic as someone
it's like
who does
virtue signaling.
Exactly. And it's really fascinating.
Yeah. Because the thing is, when I was reading these papers and stuff, like, as soon as you took out all the really long words, it was really easy to understand. Like, the actual concepts aren't that difficult. Like, I was able to understand this kind of stuff while I missed out on all the sort of more scientific parts of this just for the sake of keeping it short. It was pretty easy to understand. But the amount of, like, super long words in there, and, like, that was the only sort of barrier for me in actually understanding the text. At that point, I was just like, it just was too, like, wordy to read. It sounds like really dumb saying a written text is too wordy, but like that's kind of the
it's like academics believe in
academic language being way more pretentious than it ever needs to be. Writing in long words does not make you sound smart; it makes you sound very pretentious.
And long sentences, like convoluted sentence structure.
Exactly. If you want to make something academic, it should be more simple to understand because people should be able to learn from it, which is what is.
That's the purpose.
Heavy's rant about academia. Anyway. That's the slide. Next slide, please, Miss Rita.
Yes, indeed. Okay. What did we learn? Oh my gosh.
This is me trying to like explain properly because I understand that I use like, those long words. I just rant about using really long words and I use those myself in this. So to, to make sure that I can explain it and I understand it as well. Plants can sense lights. They know when it's dark outside. That's the funny thing, and also which direction to go in. When light changes, plants can make the petals open close. No one really understands why. It looks kind of cool, and some people like making gardens out of it. I've seen some pretty cool night bloomer gardens. There's loads of plants that bloom at night. Looks really nice. And also, for a whole PowerPoint about like plants and stuff, this is the closest I've gotten to touching grass.
You gotta go find some Neopala lotuses now in the wild.
I gotta go outside and start studying it for myself. I'm gonna make Tainari proud.
Have you been to like a night blooming garden, like a real one?
I've never actually been to it. I've seen stuff on like shows and stuff because I know my parents are like really into watching gardening shows. They're kind of like nerdy in that way as well. But I like looking at them. They're really pretty. I'd love to see.
You know what someone needs to do? There's a series on YouTube. I don't know who does it, but they make like nature documentary, like BBC style nature documentaries for like for Breath of the Wild. Someone needs to go in and just film a whole nature documentary in Genshin Impact.
Yeah.
Wait, I'll make a series. I'll make a series, and if you guys want to be like guest narrators,
go. We'll narrate for you. Yeah.
Please. Oh my gosh.
This would be so amusing.
And
a Genshin documentary series.
Exactly. Wait. Okay. I'll put together my plan, and then you can be guest narrators. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh.
That sounds awesome. Yeah, Genshin's really cool. I love like the detail they put into like the actual ecosystem of this game. You can actually see. I really love this when you were like when Sumeru released, they did like the whole photography like event.
Yeah.
You could like you had to like take pictures of like the spinal crocodiles, whatever they're called, crocodiles. And you could see like birds in their mouth cleaning their teeth, which is like an actual relationship birds and crocodiles have in real life.
Yeah, symbiotic relationship.
Exactly. Yeah, so much effort into making the actual ecosystem of Sumeru feel alive, and I really appreciate that. I don't know, just little details like that really make Sumeru feel like the most alive region out of all of Genshin so far.
Right, I think it's the most like biologically diverse.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So I think it really is.
And they have the most biomes too.
Like they're called boars outside of like Sumeru, and that's about it. Some boars, some birds, maybe like some kids, some little foxes. Kitsune in Inazuma, and then like in Sumeru, it's like here's an entire like so many new plants that have actual cool history. So many cool like animals that you can just beat up for free meat.
And the meat comes to you. You don't have to chase the meat down anymore.
I have so much meat in my inventory now. I don't know what to do with it.
Oh my god.
Maybe just make some more meat.
Oh,
Some
more
meat. Make it one out.
Oh my goodness.
That is the summary of how Neopala lotuses make the funny plants do the thing. Thanks for watching. I need to go outside more.
Yay! Let's get Evie to touch real grass next.
Oh my gosh, no, you had me thinking. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, that just won't give me any reputation, though.
Oh my gosh. When you were talking about how biologically diverse and how vast Sumeru is, it made me think, you know about like the characteristics or the elements of like an epic story? I was
Ooh.
talking about it the other day, I think it was after like Mass Effect, because we were talking about epic stories or stories
Like
that
a
have
hero's journey type thing?
Yeah, or like the Epic
Oh.
of Gilgamesh, like stories that are
Oh.
epics, and they're
Oh.
you know, you have like the hero's journey. Sorry, say that again.
I just said you're pretty epic.
You
Oh
are
my
epic.
god!
Epic, but replace the P with a B.
Uh,
Epic.
Uh,
I thought, okay, right. My brain is so tiny. I thought it was epib.
My brain said Bepic.
We're sharing your brain cell right now. It's okay.
Oh my god. Okay, class is over. I'm just kidding. Oh my goodness. No, I'll wrap up my thought. I was just thinking about how Genshin is like an epic, because you have, a vast setting, you have a big world, you have the hero of unbelievable stature, it involves deeds of supernatural strength, there's otherworldly forces, and it's, I don't know. I think it's a really cool epic.
I guess the Travelers kind of like a legend in their own right now in all of like Tibet. Everyone kind of knows their name. They're kind of
Right,
Tibet is
right.
living through a historical event right this very moment in time.
Yeah.
We're
I
the
wonder
cause of
then,
it.
could we align that with the hero's journey, like travelers with let's see, hero's journey steps?
Well, so I was just thinking about that, and I feel
Yeah.
like the twins are missing some major figures and parts of the hero's journey cycle, right? Like you're not like there's the sage mentor figure. That doesn't really exist. They don't quite fall into the literal abyss, I guess. Like there is an abyss, but it's not in the way that the hero's journey usually executes it.
Right.
Maybe we just haven't seen it happen yet.
Maybe. Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I guess they do have mentor figures, but not like a main.
Plural, but yeah, there's no
Right.
like, one sage to lead you
Singular.
on the way.
There's like
Yeah.
multiple.
Right. And whenever the so-called, abyss, like the downturn of events, right? That never quite gets that bad. Like an abyss is a true abyss. Like you are in the pits of despair, kind of an abyss.
Maybe we haven't gone there yet, because maybe we're still in trials and tribulations.
Maybe.
How painful
Mhm.
the past few like our conquests have actually been emotionally speaking. I
Yeah.
feel like the more we learn about the Travelers' history, like the worse it's gonna get.
Mhm.
It's only gonna go downhill from here, I think, as far as like
Yeah.
That's true. I think we're still just early in the story is all.
Yeah,
We're so
we recently learned. Oh, spoilers! The Traveler's Descender and stuff like that. Kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I was like, oh my god, wait, hang on a second. This changes so much of the story.
Right.
And like,
Yeah.
reveals like that are probably gonna. If they do like a really like devastating one, that could probably be like a pretty heavy hit.
It's actually really crazy how we were talking about this before stream started. It's crazy how vast Tibet's history is.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if we want to do a little, if we want to touch on this
Just
conversation now. It might be a long conversation. I don't want to keep you all. Maybe for our last wrap up for 15 minutes, we can discuss a little bit about it. But let me go ahead and pull up something. I stumbled upon this when I was researching for my presentation, and it's just how vast the history of Tibet is. And when you think of the history of Tibet, you think of Archon War, you think of Konria, right? But there's so much more. Let me see. Oh my gosh, here we go. And
Holy.
I compiled it into like 6 big sections when I was reading the Wikipedia.
Oh my god, you made this graphic?
I did. 30 minutes before we started.
I love it. Oh my god.
It's the old
love
world, the new world, the Divine Envoy era, the pre-Archon War, Archon War, before the Cataclysm, and then the Cataclysm. And then after the Cataclysm, it's more recent past, like in the last 100 years or so. And it's really fascinating because there's a lot of things that I've never heard of. I never thought of. And all of this just exists in books.
Yeah.
All of this exists in books. I think I remember the story of the Seelie. Like I read the book once. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize. But there's like primordial beings and the creation of the 3 realms, like the light realm and the Vishap realm and the abyssal realm. And it's so crazy to think that there was so much more even before the Archon War.
Mm.
Oh my gosh.
It really
But,
goes so deep.
Say that again?
It really goes so deep.
It really does. And you start to realize how like old some of the beings are, like bishops existed in the old world.
Oh
Mm.
my
Not
god,
even-
they're the dinosaurs.
They're the dinosaurs. Yes, and same thing with the Wanut. If
Oh.
I remember correctly, because the Wanut they existed
Wait,
back
I-
when. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Is that how you pronounce it? I've been pronouncing it Weenut.
Oh, I've
In
been
my
saying
head, it
Wanut.
always said a wee nut too.
I don't know how it's pronounced correctly. I went on a like
Well,
a
Weenut sounds more like proper. Weenut just sounds like it should be something that kids laugh at, you know?
That's true. Like
I-
weenus.
how I came across the pronunciation of Wanut is I searched up like what's the origin? Like obviously everything
Oh.
in Genshin is inspired by something in real life.
Uh-huh.
And Wanut is, I think, an Egyptian like being or a deity, perhaps. And
Mhm.
they had the hieroglyphs of the pronunciation. And then next to the hieroglyphs, they had the like phonetic spelling. So I plugged that into a phonetic spelling interpreter, and then it came out with Wanut. So that's why I said Wanut.
Mhm.
Really fascinating. But I don't know if you all have any interesting stories about specific areas. I have no idea about the whole old world, new world, except for the fall of the Sealy. And
Because you read the book about
I read the
Sealy.
book. But I was like, who is the primordial one? Who is the second primordial? Like, what is this? And
There are some
God.
like really high quality video essays out there kind of covering a lot of this, but they're like they're dense.
very, very dense. Because my only understanding of like the ancient history of Teyvat starts at Conria. And then only just recently the creation of the Dharma Forest.
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
Dash
definitely.
Red.
Like, that's what the game actually feeds you. Everything else is
Right.
kind of like there, but you kind of have to dig for it. I feel like we'll
Yeah.
hear more about it more
Yeah.
directly like, later on in the story. It just kind of goes to like it's world
Yeah.
building, right? But the game
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
only feeds stuff from Conria onwards because that's what the traveler knows about. Because
Uh-huh.
Celestia is like, trying to hide the rest of it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like as far as the world is concerned, most people don't know anything about like before Archons. The Archons have only ever existed and nothing else because that's what Celestia is kind of like trying to make sure is the case.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that like yeah, it's the fact that I think knowledge is being kept from the traveler in this case. Like we only know the castle
Right.
is cataclysm because that's what like everyone else only knows about. Everything else is kind of like lost to time. But
That's true.
So the lesson here today, everyone, is go read some books.
yes, go read books.
Go read books, go read academic papers.
Yes. Go read, go be learned. Oh my goodness. But
Mhm.
there's just so much that like feeds from one thing. Okay, one thing that I thought was very suspicious. In if I had to pick one thing out of this research, because I made that infographic to kind of sort my thoughts. I wasn't really planning on going over it. But one thing that I thought was really interesting was, and maybe they mentioned this in the story and I just forgot, but oh gosh, it had to do with Zhongli, and he apparently signed a contract to keep it a secret the things he knew about the cataclysm. Or he knew the cataclysm was going to happen.
Mhm.
And he signed a contract to agree that he wasn't going to say what he knew was going to happen, or something like that.
Mhm.
Which I was like, that's a little suspicious.
Yeah. He's one of the
So-
most tight-lipped archons, I think, for
I
a
agree.
variety of reasons.
I agree. Oh my goodness. So like what did he know? Because the cataclysm, it's when all the monsters from the abyss came and attacked the
Yeah.
overworld, right?
Uh-huh.
Mm.
That's how I understand it. Yeah.
Right. But like what did he know? What did you know?
I suspect we'll find out. I hope.
Yeah,
If
oh my
the writers haven't
God.
forgotten
No.
about it.
No, I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
'Cause I'm like-
the writing of Samara has been getting so good, and like I know that the Fontaine is gonna be even better. It's just
Mhm.
I
Can't
would
wait.
love for them to do, because not a lot of like shows do this, because they're afraid of taking a character that people really love and then like tainting them almost. But I would love to see them like take a really well beloved character and then be like, surprise! This is a really well, they've done that before, I'm sure. But you know, like,
Uh-huh.
turns out Zhongli's actually a pretty bad guy.
I feel like
or
we
like
already
very
call him a war criminal, though.
Right. I mean,
honestly, I feel like
with the
more
Archon War,
morally
they're all
graded.
war criminals, but,
Yeah.
you know, it'd be interesting to see more about the things that they did during the Archon War.
Mhm.
Because we know about, like, the Raiden twins killing all of the other gods during in Inazuma during the Archon War.
Mhm.
But it's
Mhm.
like, what did they have to do to be the ones to
Right.
grab the seats?
Like, there's a lot of moral gray zone that's been woven sort of
Right.
between the lines, but nothing has been
Right.
explicitly put in front of us.
So I'm like, wait, I'm anticipating the moment where it's like, here's exactly what Zhongli did during the Archon War.
Wait, I really can't wait.
Oh my
Peepaw's
god.
Peepaw's a war criminal.
Peepaw's
Yeah.
a war criminal. Oh my gosh. But I don't know. Maybe we'll just have to see. Who knows? But thank you all so much for sharing your knowledge with us today. I learned a lot. I'm sure we have even more questions than we had before.
Good old Socratic learning. We love it.
Oh my goodness. But
Lead with questions.
before you all head out for the day, if you all have any exciting news or announcements you all want to share with everyone before I hop into Super Chat reading, by all means, go ahead. Abby, do you have any announcements?
I don't think so. I'm probably gonna stream this weekend. Don't know what. Yeah, I'll figure it out.
I love it.
I don't plan ahead, so.
I feel you. I don't super plan ahead either, just 1 week at a time. But coming up pretty soon, I'll be covering probably a lot more Honkai recently. I cleared chapter 15. Yo, if you guys want a tragic hero's journey, Honkai Impact, okay?
Okay.
Holy crap. That is a hero's
Oh my
journey. The abyss
God.
is real. The trial and tribulations are nonstop.
Oh my goodness.
But it's real good. I'm gonna keep digging in deeper over these next few months, so it'll be good.
Sounds good. And then for me, I think I just have I'm gonna do a viola stream this week. I'm gonna play Annie songs on the viola on Sunday morning PST, and then Sunday evening JST. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want to tune in, you're more than welcome to. But can we get one last round of applause for our lovely teachers, co-students?
Thank you, Rita, for hosting.
Thank you all so much for joining me. Bye! Thank you. Bye-bye! Hello. Hello. What did you all think? Oh my gosh. Thank you all. Oh my gosh. What was the biggest, I don't know, mind blow moment for you all? Oh my gosh. For me, oh my gosh. I'm trying to think. What was a big mind blow moment for me? I don't know. I feel like I learned a lot in Ebby's biology lesson. You didn't fall asleep. Oh my gosh. Happy to hear that. I was worried that my government of Teyvat presentation would be really boring. Why are all your presentations better than anything I did in college? Oh, don't say that. I just like making PowerPoint presentations. Jamie, thank you so much for celebrating your 1 month as Idol Coach. Jamie says, thank you for the amazing stream. I really learned a lot. I'm happy to hear that. There is so much Genshin lore. And a bunch of it I had just learned in the past, hour. After I finished my presentation, I went and, searched the timeline in the Wikipedia, and it's dense. You didn't know that Seneschal is Jean and Barbara's father. I didn't know that either. I found that out when I was doing research. Yeah. Which is very interesting because it's is this, are we looking at nepotism? Did Barbara get her job as deaconess because her dad's Seneschal? Did Jean get her job as Grandmaster or acting Grandmaster because she's the daughter of the Seneschal? I don't know. Ying says, I didn't know Jean and Barbara were Nepo babies. Oh my gosh. Alex, thank you so much for the super chat. Thanks for the education, of course. Kate Rin, thank you so much for the super sticker. And Minana, thank you so much for the dono. Thank you for the class. Absolutely. Rita Sensei says thank you. Oh, Barbara mentions it in her hangout quest. Oh, Varka would have vouched for Jean to know about Barbara. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, they're both very good at their jobs, so it's okay. Isn't church stuff usually inheritable? I'm not sure. Is it inheritable? Because I watched, okay, I don't know which channel it was. I think maybe it was like a CGP Grey. It wasn't, wait, was it a CGP Grey? Let me search. It was a video called How to Become Pope. I'm not trying to become Pope, but there's a YouTube channel. It is CGP Grey. I watch a lot of CGP Grey videos. And it's like, how does one become popes? And they talk about like becoming a priest and then a deacon and then a bishop and then eventually being a cardinal and then how the cardinals vote. What a CGP Grey title. Yeah, and so, I'm wondering, because I searched up on Seneschal, I was like, how does this work? How does this fall under the Catholic hierarchy? But I couldn't find much. And I didn't want to go into too much detail for the presentation, but yeah. You need to be a noble. It's a very fascinating and like educational video for anyone out there who wants to become Pope. But in Mondstadt, they have cardinals. So I was like, okay, so then is there a Mondstadt Pope? Was it the Church of Barbados? They have deacons and deaconesses? I don't know. Very deep. Oh my goodness. Oh, by the way, I mentioned it earlier, and I was trying to look for the piece of information, and I found it. And it says, Story Quest, Zhongli, Historia Antiqua, Chapter Act 2, No Mere Stones, Part 4. Amidst chaos, the rock is unmoved. It says, Morax signs a contract, agreeing not to disclose whatever is about to happen in the cataclysm. So, a little suspicious. And for those who don't know, the cataclysm, 500 years ago, monsters from the abyss invade the above-ground world of Tevat, causing widespread devastation. And then Conria falls. Or the kingdom of Conria is destroyed. By heavenly principles. Oh my gosh. Causing the fall of the Eclipse dynasty and the entire civilization. What could it be that he knew? It's so fascinating. I want to do I was going to say brief summary of everything. But I don't know if you can do this briefly. Oh my gosh, 500 years ago is when everything happened. 500 years ago was the cataclysm. But there's so many more major events in Tevat. I think the two major events are the cataclysm and the Archon War. But before that, they had like the fall of the Sealy civilization. What else? They had so many ancient civilizations rise and fall. Like the Guili Assembly was an ancient civilization that rose and fell. I can't remember what. I think it was during the Archon War. It was at some point after Conria was established that the Guili Assembly was established, and so was the rise of Decorabian as the tyrant Archon of Mondstadt. And then, during the Archon War was of the fall of Decorabian's rule and the fall of Guili Assembly as well. When was Celestia formed? Well, it's said in the Divine Envoy era is when the Heavenly Kingdom was established, along with the ancient civilization Sal Vindagnier on Dragonspine. And that's also when Conria was established as well. Yeah. So the Divine Envoy era is when humans had direct contact with Celestia. Yeah. So I think around then is when Celestia was established. Yeah, apparently they used to have like a chief in like their civilizations that would convene with Celestia. Genshin also tickles my particular fancy of how it handles layers of ancient civilizations. Yeah, because they have a lot of like old like civilizations that like rose and fell. It's really fascinating. Yeah. Of course, Morax knew Celestia was sending all the Archons in to destroy Conria, but they couldn't finish the job, so Celestia sent in the Sustainer. It's like, how much did they know they were gonna do? Like, did Celestia tell them to do like specific things, or I don't know. I just think it's kind of suspicious that like he signed this contract that he wasn't going to tell anyone the things that he was going to do in the Cataclysm. I don't know. I don't know. Kind of spooky. Conria and the Desert Civilization are interestingly similar. Yeah. Gosh. But it's so fascinating because even before the establishment of a lot of the ancient civilizations, they had a lot of like progenitor gods and, you know, beings. Because I mentioned the old world, and it's an era before the Heavenly Kingdom was established with, I think that it's like, do you remember when you start like the new battle pass round and Venti has that whole thing like once upon a time there was a kingdom? That's the Heavenly Kingdom, I believe, if I remember correctly. But the old world, they were like, they had dragons and bishops, and they kind of like were the rulers of the world, and they had seven sovereigns, and they were the top dogs, or I guess the top dragons, and they ruled over 7 nations. And there was like a fight. Yeah, the primordial one challenged the 7 sovereigns, and you know, in doing so, well, not in doing so, in order to challenge the sovereigns, the primordial one created shades of itself to do battle, and then wins, and then presides over the new world. And I think that leads to the creation of the 3 realms. And it's the elemental realm, the elemental bishop realm, the abyssal void realm, and the human realm. Yeah, I don't know. Very fascinating stuff. But the kingdom is during the Divine Envoy era. Let me check my notes. Oh my goodness. It says, at some point, a kingdom is established in the heavens with a king and 2 heirs. The first heir is tasked with finding the Genesis Pearl from the Kingdom of Darkness, but she is deceived and her memory is changed to make her believe she was the queen of the Kingdom of Darkness. The second heir is sent out for the same task, and it is unknown if he succeeded or not. Sounds very peculiar. Sounds very... Two heirs. A brother and a sister. Kive, thank you so much for the 5 gifted. Oh my gosh. But something to think about. There's a lot to think about. I really want to do like an explainer video about the ancient civilizations of Teyvat. The rise and fall of the civilizations of Teyvat. My goodness. I also need to make that Genshin, what's it called? The documentary. The nature documentary. Hello! Welcome in! Oh my gosh, we were talking about, so the presentations from today were, gosh, we did the real-life inspirations of the Liyue cuisine, then we talked about the governments of Teyvat, and then we talked about Neopala lotuses and their biology, and then we started talking about the ancient civilizations. Yeah. Pretty cool. Oh my gosh. I now really want to make that Genshin nature documentary. Oh my gosh. But that'll have to be for another time. Maybe we'll have to do another Genshin PowerPoint night. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm still in the processing of editing my my charity stream presentation. I'm like halfway through now. It's slow going, but oh my gosh, I want it to be good. Oh my goodness. But thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you all learned a lot. I'm gonna go ahead and choose a stream to raid into for today. 'Cause I'm gonna go make some dinner. I'm so hungry now after Ying's presentation. If you want to join me for my next stream, I'll be doing any songs on viola. I haven't practiced viola outside of like my concert practice, so do tune in for that. Let's see. Let's go hang out with Shiki. She just started recently. So let's go ahead and raid into Shiki. How's that sound? Have a good dinner. You work your brains right, especially all that biology stuff. Eternal, thank you so much for the 5 gifted. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, let me check the emote progress. Ever since we added the new emote, I've been checking very, very frequently. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and raid Shiki. And a huge shout out to today's Let's Do Bread Heist students, because we did a lot of learning today. Huge shout out to Caitlin, Alex, and Minada. And thank you so much for celebrating your membership anniversary, Jamie. And thank you for the gifted memberships, Cube and Eternal. And as always, I'm the idol to give you the wings to fly, Cyber Angel, Rita Kamishiro, at your service. Bye! Be well. I'll see you soon. Bye! I feel like at this point, now that I'm like super deep diving into all the ancient histories and reading all the books, what if I become like a Genshin historian? Oh my gosh! It's really fascinating because, you know, you read the books and they're all kind of scattered, but then when you start putting them all together, the picture just becomes so much clearer. I don't know. Go read some books. That is today's advice. Bye! Have fun with Shiki. Say hi!